Yo, hello everyone. Thank you for joining me. I am your host Konrad Rogoz. This is This Week in Tyranny, episode 144. The title of this episode is Reflections of Soundpath. But alternatively, it's titled The Universe Sucks Balls. That's the alternative title. I think I'm going to cut part of it out and put it up that way. Stay tuned to find out why. Right? As to this show and what we're doing, as we are doing it on Sunday, September 7th, 2025, episode 144. I already announced last week that the following week, this week, would be a big show because it's episode 144. And you already know 144 is a big number for me, it has a profound meaning to me personally as a number. So in order for me to live up to that statement that I made, I can only choose one topic to cover. It's the elephant in the room. Yes, it is the Soundpath to Freedom Music Festival that I attended last weekend. If you're tired of hearing about it, sorry, you may be getting sick of it, but after this, we can get on with our regularly scheduled programming. As behind the scenes, we're gonna keep pushing the music out because I think it's the start of something that is going to be very music heavy in the freedom movement. But for now, this is all I could talk about. But it's because of me. It's one of these episodes about me, okay? Not so much about what's going on in the world. This is all about the mind, the self, the journey. And not because I want to talk about me. I've talked about me enough, especially in the context that I'm going to talk about it myself in this episode, because it's actually quite the opposite. I'd much rather talk about the studies recently finding that humans are emitting a Bluetooth signal. They're emitting MAC addresses. They could be scanned. It's a very interesting thing that I saw this week. Or El Grito Chicago, the Mexican Independence Day Festival, being canceled. That would have happened next weekend. But of course it got canceled because of the immigration concerns and all this stuff about federal troops being sent to Chicago. I'd rather talk about that, but instead I am going to talk about the impact of Soundpath on me personally, especially all the flaws and issues and the not so glamorous things that my 4-day experience at Soundpath in Pennsylvania brought to my attention. So I've been shown a lot of love over the past week, and I've shown a lot of love back, right? It's been one big love fest. That's how it has been. We've had plenty of experiences of love recently. The event itself, everybody was praising each other. Then day 4 of Soundpath, which is the Monday afterwards, everybody just gets together to talk about how great it was. There was the Monday Reflections, day 4. Then on Thursday, September 4th, me and a couple of other people involved were on Chris Jansen's show, End Evil. We had a roundtable discussion all about it. And earlier, even yesterday, we had an organizer meeting talking about future action, right? That one was more like tough love. It wasn't exactly the love fest. But the reason I say that is because this episode is about a different sort of love. It's self-love. And I don't mean love of self, not the appreciation or celebration of what I've done or like what you do, patting yourself on the back or what you've accomplished. A more accurate name for this that I'm going to talk about is self-care, but even self-care has like a connotation of its own, so I don't want to say self-care. So I tried to come up with a sentence that defines what I'm trying to talk about, and I came up with treating yourself plus everyone and everything around you. It has to be the same. Treating everything like it matters. Also, it's getting out of your own way. That is like getting out of your own way because you are standing there blocking your own path. 2 sentences, I guess, right? That already turned into like 4 sentences. But even those sentences are so vague and ambiguous. And that's how this goes with self-love. When you talk about love or talk about the self, these aspects of psychology and philosophy, it seems to go this way. It's this like ever elusive subject. It's such an elusive concept that as soon as you start to identify it and define it, it seems to go away and become something else, which doesn't make it any less real or important. That's just the way it is. It's hard to build a description of self-love up and define it and hand it to you and say, hey, that's what I'm talking about. It's difficult to do. I find that the real world shows it to us, what self-love is, and then we can point to it and say, hey, there it is. That's what I'm talking about. That's self-love. We all have moments like that, moments of clarity and realization, moments where it all clicks and everything feels right. The difficulty is always in maintaining that, in recreating it and actually applying it to your everyday life, like remembering it down the line as you settle into everyday issues and general habits and routines. That's the issue. So this is another attempt, episode 144, to advance that work of implementing the philosophy that we acquire and actually making it happen. So now I'm going to talk about a bunch of things that I experienced this weekend at Soundpath and how they impacted me. In no particular order, it's just like a list of lessons and takeaways, right? One, spending time with people who are better than you at something. Brendan Daniel said this about playing guitar. He was talking about playing guitar and how he learned to play it. It's just people that are way better than him at playing guitar. And I thought, oh yeah, like there are people even better than this guy, believe it or not, right? Then I look at myself after this and I'm thinking, damn, how lucky am I? Because all those people that I was at the house with and at the event with at Soundpath, all of those people are better musicians than me. Definitely in the classical sense. Like, I can't, I'm not good with like tune and timing. I'm not going to be able, I got a good ear for stuff, but I'm just so untrained. It's a wonder that I can make music at all because I am so untrained. Definitely in the classical sense, in the sense of experience. You know, people that have played, they've made music for a long time. They've probably done it since they were kids, and in other ways as well. You know, like even experience. So I'm not even just talking about the musicians there, but I'm talking people like John. People's experiences, what they've been through. It's very rewarding to be around people who have just seen more than you. And that brings me to now, well, in order for me to be better, I need to continue to do things that take me out of my comfort zone, like going to Pennsylvania, because it wasn't the most comfortable thing to do, not just getting there, but planning there and making those commitments and putting myself out there, you know, taking myself to places where I have to be surrounded by people that I look up to in some way, right? We shouldn't look up to anyone fully, but I think we all look up to people and should look up to people because of the things that they're great at and better than you at. It also made me think, though, I thought, damn, I've been around people like that on an everyday basis, like back home. But because they're close to me, because it's like my family, part of my family or whatever, I take it for granted. So I kind of noticed this little hypocrisy there that, oh, now I'm here with all of these musicians, all these natural law guys. It's very easy for me to just be a student and learn from them. But I could be doing that on an everyday basis, and I don't. You know, but if they were musicians or producers at Soundpath, then I would be like eager to learn from them. I noticed that, and I think, well, I need more of that eagerness to learn, man. That could take you a long way. Some of the most advanced and talented people are just like, it's like they don't even seem to know that they're like that. They just learn from the world. That's lesson one. Loving yourself is truly opening yourself up to the world. Not only thinking about yourself as like the object of love, like I need to love myself, but it's just approaching the world with openness and eagerness, as if it was made for you, as if it's the most natural thing to do in the world, to be part of the world and integrate with it. And the point is approaching life as if rejection is not even a possibility, right? Like not expecting bad things to happen, only looking for the good things. And that means, yes, putting yourself out there in potentially high-risk situations. Like performing live on stage for the first time is. That's a high-risk situation. A lot could go wrong in that scenario. That's lesson one. Lesson two, I realize I have not putting enough time and effort into things, especially my music. But the way I mean is, I saw it being around these people that they put a lot of time into the thing that they do, whatever it is that they do. Me, as far as my music, guys, I don't even really rap a lot. Like, I don't even do it, like, on an everyday basis. I don't go around freestyling and really doing. I don't even use my voice a lot. That's another thing. I'm a pretty quiet guy, actually, unless you get me started on like philosophy and stuff. So with me, with my creative process, it often goes from concept to paper. Not even paper, because it's like notes in my phone, right? But it goes from concept to notes often, and I won't even do it. I won't even go over it until like sometimes the day where I actually go record. So, you know, I think that's a backwards way of doing things, and a lot of the times that's how I do things. So while I liked my actual performance at Soundpath, I liked the live show part. I thought I did well, but I noticed more than anybody where it's rough and choppy, and it was really rough and choppy in many places. And I see that. Well, I just got to put the time into that, man. I'm capable of doing way better and being polished, but I haven't done the work to get that. And I want to do that. So I learned that I'm gonna put in more time to do that. I want to be an effective direct communicator like Derek Bros. You see that with him right away. He's very clear. There are no extra words. He doesn't speak frantically. He knows exactly what he is going to say, and he says it. As far as music, I want to be a more skilled musician like Brendan Daniel. Okay. And I won't, I'm not gonna pick up the guitar and start playing it, but I could train better just with music, and that comes with just being around it, doing it more. And as far as being a commanding vocal presence, I want to have a commanding voice like Mark Passio, because you hear that guy talking at the house, and it's like you're hearing the podcast. And I do think that comes with time as well. Doing it a certain way, using your voice in a way that's very intentional, right? All these things that I'm like, damn, I could do that. I just need to do it more. I just need to put more time into it. Also, I realized that I want to be healthy because I was like the only fat guy at the whole festival. And I know they're like, oh, you're not fat. Okay, I get what you're saying. But I could be more healthy, clearly. And I realized, damn, that is so easy to do. Not that it's easy, but you just literally put more time into doing things where there's more physical activity, right? Just being more mindful of what you're eating out there. And now I'm gonna do that, thanks to just being around all these people that are clearly doing that, and like, I need to put more effort into to do that. So I'm making the official proclamation. By the time you get to like episode 160, you should be seeing some changes. All right, man, because I want to do that, and why not? But leading up to Soundpath, I did put a lot of time into music, into actually getting that set. It wasn't just that set; it was the Saturday set as well. I did spend a lot of time in the studio, and I did spend a lot of time like recording and memorizing and practicing. So it became clear to me that I was rewarded for that time I put in. I saw it was very apparent to me, because the reward that I got was like on a much higher level than the everyday rewards that I get in life. It was clear that it was a magical event, but there was nothing magical about it. We got out what we put in. That's what happened. It was reflected back to me, all of that love, all of that self-love. That's what self-love is. It's spending the time, dedicating the time to doing the things that end up being the best for you. And when you're around people that love you, it all comes to a culmination point. That's like the big reward. So lesson 2, to get those rewards, you have to put more effort into things. I'm going to put more effort into things to do that and keep it going for a longer period of time. Lesson 3, now, a very important lesson I learned is just to not take myself too seriously, and I can just really relax. was thinking about live streaming. I've never even done a live stream. I need to do more live streams and things like that that aren't planned, like impromptu, unplanned videos, unplanned, videos with other people, on like random meetings and even more spontaneous stuff, because things are not going to be perfect in life, and the fact that they're not perfect, it actually creates openings for things to be way more impactful and valuable than if you were coordinating it and constructing it well. All these well constructed perfect things. Specifically, this was made apparent to me really every day, hanging out with people and just seeing that, our live stream on Friday was not like, even like, we didn't even know what the title card was going to look like. We didn't even have an OBS set up, but literally it's like, okay, we're going to get together, figure it out, and we did. And it led to things like the idea to take Derek out and put him as a host next to Jerry while he was over there across the ocean. That kind of a thing would not have happened. I think about on Sunday, day 3 of the festival, where Tatiana Moreau's guitar string breaks, right? So she doesn't have a guitar, show over, except Brandon Daniel walks in and he just jumps on stage and they start playing songs together that they've never played and just kind of making it work. It leads to this magical impromptu improvised experience that would not have happened otherwise in that way. So there's like such a freedom to that. Hey, this may not work out, but we're just gonna go for it anyway, and people want to be around that kind of an energy. That's another thing, right? If everything is planned like a Jordan Peterson episode, yeah, a lot of people like that, but a lot of people don't, because deep down we don't really trust that. We trust people that can just roll with it and can be comfortable in the uncertainty of life, right? And that comes with just not taking yourself too seriously, man. If you say something dumb, fuck it. That's what it is. It's not the end of the world. And this is all about overlapping with this idea of approaching people with this complete enthusiasm that whatever turns out is going to be worth it, and it's not going to be a waste of time. We have to have some kind of a faith and confidence in that. So those are my quick 3 lessons. But also, I mentioned that I'm going to bring some things up that are not so bright. I learned some things that are like not that comfortable. Like that leading up to this event, I have not been very considerate of others, of some people, during and after the event. This thing is like, it's difficult because I can't really get into detail on what I'm trying to say, and I hate how vague it sounds, right? I want to tell you the thing, but it's personal. It has to do with like people involved, and I don't want to put people out there. It's just like, not, But I can say this: along the way of doing this and having these amazing experiences, I've left some people behind that are part of it. So here I go. I'm going to comment on things from a more negative angle to make the greater point. And I thought about this, if I should even say what I'm about to say and how it could come across. It's a risky thing because I think about, no, then if I'm watching it, then somebody's going to be watching it, think I'm this type of a guy, and then that doesn't really, that doesn't pay off so well for me, and I could develop a negative image of myself in the free movement. This is the type of shit that I think about. But I'm just going to say it because it's true. So here goes. I went into Soundpath with this kind of a preconceived notion about what I know and what I could learn. What I know and what I could know. I learned a lot more than I thought was possible. And it's not that I think I'm better than anyone per se, but it is a bit of an ego thing. And I had a bit of an ego thing leading up to this, in the way that, okay, I'm going to go there, I'm going to do this and that, this is what I have to offer, I'm going to see these people, so I'm planning, okay, I'm going to have this kind of these kind of interactions with these people, and just focus on what I want to deliver, and basically getting what I want out of that event. Well, I was wrong about it. I was wrong. The 3 words, right? And there it is. The people that I met they're actually a lot more impressive than they even look on the internet. And that doesn't just go for that goes for Jerry Capizzuto, that goes for St. John, Penwell, Derek Bros, Brendan Daniel, everyone. I didn't know it until it happened, but once I get there, I realized that leading up to it, I was very self-centered. By my standards, self-centered. Like, here's an example. Derek Bros. Obviously, I knew him and I respected him before. Of course. I would never say anything bad about him. All that. But on a personal level, I wasn't even interested in meeting this guy. Because I thought I knew him. Like, I thought I knew him based on a few things that I saw on the internet. Right? So, it's already like you're closing yourself off there. And it's not that I spent so much time with him to say, oh, now I know him on a deep level. I don't know him on a deep level, but I know enough to say that I really like the guy, and he has a presence about him. Speaking of presence, I was speaking with presence a bit, and I found him along with Derek Bros. You know, they're friends. They came together. I found them both to be incredibly down to earth and genuine. I guess that shouldn't be surprising, right? But it is surprising because people just, the world is just crazy. You guys know what it's like. You know, you meet somebody that has a couple of fans, and you expect them to be a certain way. All right, that's how it is with me. Now with Derek, what I picked up from him is the practice of setting intention. He talked about it a few times. Obviously, it's not the first time I heard it, but it stuck with me the way he talked about it. Like, we were gonna get some smoothies, and he talked about transmutation. Like the number 33, that's his stage name, right? And to him, it means transmutation. And in the context of the smoothies, he was talking about, well, you know, if you're going to go out and you're craving something, you know, you might as well just, if you do it, you want to, he set the intention to transmute that energy. If you are going to eat something unhealthy, to basically say, I know that these are not the best ingredients, so on and so forth, but I want to transmute this energy into something good. So I started to do that. Like right when I get home, I started to do that. Starting the day with like prayer and setting intention. And I already knew this, the number 33 and vertical motion, transition, and the human spinal column and all this stuff. I've talked about it. But so what if you know it, if you're not practicing it? So I'm seeing that there are areas where I wasn't practicing this knowledge. Another area is the way that I try to make violent and drastic changes in my life. I have a definite tendency to do that. That when I decide to do something, I dive into it all the way, but like cold turkey, okay? It's the way that I got sober, and I used to do hard drugs. I stopped doing hard drugs, like overnight, basically. But you know, sometimes I'll succeed. You remember the times where you succeed, but many times I don't succeed, and you guys don't ever see it on camera, but it happens. Okay, all the New Year's resolutions, right? Not that I do New Year's resolutions, but it's that kind of a thing. It's like you went all the way up until the last second doing things one way, and now you go, okay, now I'm gonna do it completely differently. It doesn't work. It's very hard to make that work. And transmutation is something that happens slowly, not in an instant. And I have this tendency to make a decision. When I make a decision, I jump into it fully. Kind of like if you're driving a car, like 100 miles an hour, and you decide, oh, I'm going that way now. You want to grab the wheel and go like this. Well, you can't do that, because if you have someone in the car with you, everybody else that's in the car with you is going to get smashed against the glass, right, against the side of the car. There's a G-force and an inertia to the world that says you cannot do that without consequences. So just because you realize that you want to do that now, you need to respect that direction and that momentum that you've built up to transmute that momentum and move it in this direction. So that's the other side of being like confident and self-defined. It can make you very quick to make these violent decisions. And it is erratic behavior. And, you know, that's just the way it is. The people close to me know that I can have erratic behaviors. It's a lot different than my show. But here's the thing, like, this is why I'm making the point to talk about it. because we all need to look at ourselves this way. Obviously, this is the actual change that happens right here. This is called shadow work. This is what we need to do to actually change the world. It's not to tell people what to do, or this is the way it's done, or all of this knowledge that is out there. It's the actual part that can you implement that knowledge, and can you make a person, can you make it stick with them in a way that inspires them and has a lasting impact and effect. The way that these things that I experienced this weekend have had that kind of effect on me. I'm making this show to make sure that I don't forget that, right? This is another step in that direction, to make it solid, okay, solid and lasting, and have it. I want to build that momentum like that car, right? So that when 2 weeks from now I make a decision to be lazy or do something that is just not conducive to the results I want to have a momentum built up that makes that harder, right? So it's like, again, it's the same processes that got the world into the place that it is. We will have to reverse engineer those same processes and do the same process to take us to the world that we want to see. That's what this is all about. Now, as far as changing the world, it won't change like this, not in a flash. You can't just snap your fingers and overcompensate overnight for all the times that you should have done something but didn't. Okay, so that's my raw as hell real rundown of things. I think that is what self-love is all about. Self-love is often saying the thing out loud that you don't really want to say out loud, but you say it, and that is really the best thing that you could do for yourself. That's what that is. Now, zooming out from the self and just concerning love in general, I want to start talking about this now. This part of the episode now is going to be some exclusive philosophy that really belongs in the book that I should be writing, that I'm going to start writing. Past and present, okay, point one. This is the central point. Past and present don't really exist. Not really. I mean, obviously they exist, but they don't matter very much. We're talking about time now, okay? And where the potential for change is. The future is what matters. The future is like all that matters. The universe operates through an arc of potential. It's a spectrum of proximity to experiences. Okay, I'm going to draw something. It's going to be like this. For now, I just wave my hands. The past is a requirement for it all to be possible. It's a requirement for the universe to exist. The fact that things that occurred did occur and they'll never unoccur, they're never going to change, that makes it all worth it. And that makes it all have meaning. It's not that time is so real and solid and it's a boundary condition of life and no one can change it, not even God. It's more so that if the past was malleable and that an effect could somehow manifest without its corresponding cause, if that was the case, that kind of a universe would turn self-destructive. What Michael Tsarion calls the necrophilic impulse, I believe is what he calls it. It doesn't sound right to me. I hope I'm not butchering his language, his concept, but it's a destructive impulse. There's like a creative instinct and there's a destructive instinct. If the past was changeable and mutable, then it would be like a middle finger to itself from the universe. And I won't try to say it any more differently than that. That's what it is. I view this to be like very basic philosophy. That's why I'm starting with this. It's like green is green, water is wet, that type of stuff. You know? I have my light in the way, so I have to duck under it to see if I'm still recording and at what time. I got a new setup with my lights. I'm hoping this looks better. I'm sitting way higher than I usually sit. Not that I'm on my high horse. I'm just sitting higher. Anyway, that's the past, right? The past. The present now, well, that is the reward. The present is what it makes it all worthwhile. That you will have a connection of the expected and the actual. You'll have a connection of the objective and subjective. And in a way, you could say, and I've said this for the longest, is that only the present moment matters. Only the present ever happens. because the future hasn't happened and the past is already gone. So only the present matters. And the future does not matter at all unless it actually happens one day. Those two are not different. So it's not that I'm taking back what I've said, because they're not different. It's a difference of perspective. It's just that right now, this present moment is like a portal or a rite of passage through which experiences earn their right to be actualized. It's like a stage. And after you walk past the stage, you get your diploma, you get your stamp of approval from the universe. It's like a stage with people constantly walking through it. That's what the present is. It's that little flash, that frame where the picture is taken. So we got 2 out of 3 so far, right? We've got past and present. And still, here, 0% change is actually occurring. Zero change, zero potential. It's just stuff that is already gone or stuff that is just about to be gone. Past and present are the foundations on which the universe sits. But where the universe actually is the future. Based on the boundary conditions and the groundwork laid, yes, what is possible, what decisions will be made, what behaviors will be taken, it all depends on the past. But all those variables go into what outcome will walk out onto that stage and get the stamp of approval from the universe and what will actually happen. So when the future actually happens in the present, we watch this and we will say later on, hey, that was a great show. Or we're going to say, hey, damn, that guy sucks balls. And right now the universe sucks balls. This is the part of the show that is called The Universe Sucks Balls. This is how we get the title. But it's not because that's the way it is or has to be or has been. The reason the universe sucks balls is because this is the future that people are consistently choosing, unwaveringly, choosing it every time. That is the future we live in, based on the actions that we're taking right now and just about to take. It's choices. So when you think about that arc of what is possible, it's mentally, spiritually, emotionally, where we see ourselves in that potential, what we think to be possible, what we can imagine, what we can envision. That's the reason the world is the way it is. Not even because of everything that has happened or what is happening right now. It is those potential choices. And now the key to it all, the solution. What is the solution? Well, the universe gives you a key, like a compass or something. It's a key that's always pointing you the right way, regardless of what direction you're even going. It's like a compass, right? So if you want a good, rewarding future, the force that is going to take you there is called love. Okay, it's also called will, which is sort of a different conversation, right? But that's the key. The key is love. Now, we run into the problem that I talked about in the beginning of the episode, that, okay, it's just a word. It means so much to so many different people. This is kind of the issue, to find the accurate language that's not going to be misinterpreted to actually convey the concept. So a better way to get that key and finally find out what love is apophysis, meaning telling you the opposite. Apophysis is to say no, to negate something, the power of negation. So I'll tell you the opposite of what that key is, the opposite of love. If you want the universe to suck balls, the force that you should choose is fear. Fear ensures that things are not fun, not good, not rewarding. If you're afraid of doing something, if I was afraid, then I wouldn't walk onto the stage. I wouldn't drive to Pennsylvania. I wouldn't make the commitment to be part of Soundpath. I wouldn't go to the studio to record songs, to have it forever on record. That's the opposite of love. The opposite of love is to stand in your own way, to stand in the way of all of the potential experience that the future holds. So where it all comes together now is that there's an arc of proximity that I mentioned. The arc of proximity is key. Arc of proximity means you have short-term, mid-term, and long-term rewards. Okay, potential experiences in the future. It's like this. It's like a rainbow. Okay. It's like a rainbow. So right now, I may want to have an experience of blasting music and drinking a bottle of champagne, right? If I were to choose that experience that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm choosing love. There's an arc there. There's an arc on which all these outcomes are connected. There's the outcome that I would have today if I did that. There's the outcome that I would have tomorrow. And the outcome that I would have in 10 years. They're all connected. And love is freedom. The freedom to go out and experience things. But not just today, but holistically. But it's not that today is in opposition to tomorrow. It's not. There is no separation between past, present, and future. That separation that we perceive is merely a necessity in order for the universe to function. Natural law, the boundary conditions of life. Natural law is there so that we can experience love, so that there can be love. Again, they're not in contradiction or competition with each other. They're part of the same thing. So short-term and long-term pleasure and pain, they're not these tragic forces of eternal condemnation and opposition. Of youthfulness, like youthfulness and death, like there was the way it used to be and the way that it is now, and it's this eternal tragic thing where the grass is greener on the other side. I know that's what it feels like, of course, but anyway, we should have learned this by now. We should have learned that hedonism doesn't work. So there's a point at which if you eat enough ice cream, you're going to get to a point where you hate ice cream. You don't want to eat it anymore. That's not a cruel trick of nature. That's not an illusion of life, that in the honeymoon phase you could spend all day with someone, and then like after 5 years you kind of wish you could experience something else. That is not an opposition, actually. What it is the force of love showing us where we need to go, what we need to do in order to get what we want. It requires making mistakes. It requires compromise. It requires a tempering. Okay? It requires sacrifice. The fact that this is a world that sucks balls, this world that we live in, it's just evidence that all of the great and wonderful experiences that the universe has to offer are ahead of us. Instead of pointing out all of the tragic things, all of the wars and all of the suffering as evidence that the universe is tragic or cruel or all of this, instead of that, why are we not seeing that there's a potential for it to be different in the future based on the behaviors that we need to take and haven't taken? So I think, is it not incredible that we are alive in 2025 in this absolutely dead and broken world, fighting a high-tech enemy that seems to be on the verge of slapping the chains on humanity permanently, like forever? It seems bleak, but of course they will fail. The social engineers of this world will fail because they operate according to the necrophilic instinct. The spirit of destruction. That's what governs their entire system. That's why it's parasitic in nature. That's why it needs people to fuel it. The social engineers of this world, they have worked very hard to bring their future into existence, though. Their experience. They've worked for it. That there's a will that has been put forth. And so it's happening and is going to happen because of that will that was exerted by them. And people before them, and beings before them, and forces before them. That's love as well. It is a kind of love that they practice just because of how they work to get that outcome. But that future of theirs, the dark future, the controlling future, is here, or is just about to be here. And soon it's going to be off of the stage. It's going to be gone soon. Because the force of fear is not actually self-sustaining. It's not generative. Love is generative and self-sustaining. So that's why that time is like right around the corner. It's just that we're not choosing it. Everything in the universe is tilted. The tables are actually tilted in our favor. Yeah, if you think about it philosophically. Of course, this is a deeper conversation that I'm not going to get into. The point is, the people of Earth will end slavery on this planet. I know it doesn't feel like it now. We all feel the same about the world. It sucks balls. So if you drew the short straw in life, if you feel like, if you feel like you've lost out, if you feel like you're suffering, I know, I get it. I know it sucks. If you didn't get the lead role in the movie this time, hey, smile, because that means that it's there on that arc of the future, that arc of proximity, and it's going to be yours. It's yet to be experienced. But I'm very sensitive to those who are done outright wrong and cruel by nature. I know it's easy to be optimistic when you're young and healthy, right? I know. I'm not saying that it's all peaches and smiles, but the solution is, the answer is the same. You do the best you can with your life anyway, no matter how much life you have left or what kind of a life it is. When we choose love and do what we were supposed to do in life, what's going to happen is the life of our dreams is next. It's actually better than you could have dreamed it. It's ours to experience together. The end. The end, guys. That's it right there. But actually, it's not the end. After the end, there's more in the future, of course. If you don't agree with me, guys, with this optimistic hippie worldview, listen. You should listen to it. To the most haunting, sad, empty piece of music that's out there. To anyone who's ever heard it, seems to agree that this is it. And obviously not everyone, because music is a bit subjective. Art is subjective, guys. Am I right or no? Just joking, of course. But this music, this really sad music, I listened to this song today. That's kind of, it's not, obviously not recognized by everyone, but it's recognized as like one of the most haunting and sad songs. I listened to it today, and I don't know what I was hearing before, man, because I think this is like a comically joyful song. I'm talking about Libet's Delay by The Caretaker. It's a guy. He's a British musician. His most recent project is called Everywhere at the End of Time, which is funny because we're talking about time and the end of time, and all this stuff comes together as I plan my show. He has like 6 volumes so far of this album. The 6th volume, the last one, was released March 14th, 2019. A time that I remember, March of 2019, because at the time this gets released, I was on like the 6th or 7th floor of Loyola Hospital 2 weeks after a car accident that I miraculously survived. And I remember seeing the cold smoke come out from the chimneys and go out into that seemed like lifeless early spring air. It was very gray. It was, the inside of a square U-shaped building. And I remember looking out that window and desperately wanting out of that room. And it was a room that I shared with an older gentleman who, he must have had a stroke. I don't know for sure, but see, I've never seen the guy's face, but I'll never forget him by the sound that he made and the emotion with which he did it. While he was from the other side of the curtain, right? I never saw him. But it was when someone came to visit him, because I heard her. I assume it was his wife. And I remember this feeling. It was a terrible feeling. I desperately wanted out of that room. I made the decision, like, I need to get out of here. I need to go through my rehab quick. I need to start moving. I need to get healthy. I need to get out of this room and just go home. And I was afraid. Not afraid of death per se, but I was afraid of the end of freedom, the end of potential. I was afraid of turning out like that guy next to me, and that I would be like that one day. The funny thing is that the Caretaker's music, like Libet's Delay and his other songs, they sample ballroom music, and they do it with a distortion and a looping to portray the experience of Alzheimer's disease. Like that's actually a conscious choice of the musician to do that, to make it seem like you're a person that is remembering old things but not really remember them, like the memories are lost. It's very interesting stuff. Another interesting thing is that this guy records that music, all that music, in a studio in Kraków, Poland, a city I've been to, and it's actually the last thing I remember before coming to America, actually. I could tell you the night before we had the flight, and we were in Kraków before we went to Warsaw, I believe. I don't know how I got from Kraków to Warsaw, but I remember Kraków. Last memory I had. So while we're talking about memories and Alzheimer's, that's the last thing I remember about Poland. Another interesting thing is this title, Libet's Delay, it refers to Benjamin Libet, who I found out yesterday is a neuroscientist born in the city of Chicago in 1916. And he's famous for a study where he measured a 200 millisecond delay between a subject's brain impulse to push a button and then the conscious decision where they measured it when that person made the conscious decision to press that button. So it's very controversial, this study, because that delay, 200 milliseconds, it suggests that there is an unconscious physical process that actually occurs before free will occurs. Right? So free will, what we think is the beginning of a choice, there actually is a biological process that happens before that. So Libet's delay is then a pretty strong feather in the cap of that tragic existential worldview that we all know, where we are slaves to a process greater than us, right? We think we're making these choices based on all these things we want to do, all this meaning that we find in the universe, but the truth is it's just a biological process, and we all just are puppets on a string to this greater collective mechanism. That's the view, right? So then a disease like Alzheimer's or stroke could come along and take from us our entire world like it was never there. Well, I was reading about Libet and I smile. I smiled before I even read that his own conclusion is not at all existential and tragic. It's like I knew it, but his response is, despite what everybody took out of that experiment, his response is that it absolutely does not indicate that biochemistry is above free will. Because the subject, after getting that initial brain impulse and doing that, they still had the choice not to push the button. They could stop themselves before they do it. So it's he called it the power of veto, that the conscious mind has the power of veto to go according to or against the initial biological impulse. This has been called free won't, as opposed to free will, the freedom to not do things. In other words, apophysis, the power of negation. I'm having fun with it because I am the new #1 Apophysis fan in the world. They're the best band ever. They rock, guys, in case you haven't heard that from me already. So this takeaway about free will, I already know it to be true in my heart. No, biological processes, biochemical processes, and divine forces are not running this world. We're running them. We're running the processes. The processes exist in order for the universe to be what it is and for us to experience love. Caretaker's music is shocking and unsettling, sure. I know it can be sad, but it's because of the choices that we've made in the world. It's not inherently sad. And I think this is my most controversial opinion yet, 144 episodes in, is that the Caretaker's music is not actually sad. And I could care less about Alzheimer's. Go ahead, take my memories away. Because I know that I've experienced love. I know what it's like, and I'm going to experience it again. Wherever and wherever I am, whenever in the world, I will make that choice to create that sweet future. The end, again. As it's 11:10 a.m. here on the Central Time, 11:11 now. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week on This Week in Tyranny.